noticed on the TL-1 kits and the ST-1 kits, the headstock actually comes like this. It hasn't even been shaped to any particular shape. I assume that's because they'd have to pay some copyright money to old Fender if they did cut the Fender shape, which is that classic curve, angle in, and then finishing in the classic Fender ball there. But this is great for us because what we can actually do is cut any shape that we like, and we can personalise it and customise it. And we've done that. In fact, we've come up with a PitBull Guitars design that we've got on one of our guitars. So grab that there, Phil, and we'll just show you what we've done. So it is kind of like a Fender shape, but it's kind of unique, and on the side on like this, it's actually got a profile a bit like a PitBull. So we've even got our logo there, and that's finished in lacquer, and it looks quite good. So you can do something like that. We've got the template on the website if you want to download the template and put that onto your guitar, or what's even more fun is just coming up with your own design. You do want to be careful though that you don't want to take off too much wood around where the machine heads go, so you'll need to leave some space around there. So I wouldn't take more than a centimetre off the top there, coming around there, and down here you can use any shape you like, and play around with some designs on paper, and we'll have a look at that now. Okay, what you need for this, you need your guitar headstock up this end, you need a nice flat surface to work on, and you need a clean bit of paper. Grab a few bits of paper because you might want to do a few different takes on this. Put the headstock over the piece of paper and draw an outline of the headstock carefully. Try not to mark the wood if you can. Around the headstock onto the paper. So you've got a clear outline of the headstock on the piece of paper. Plus you want to make sure you figure out where the machine head holes are already pre-drilled. So you just mark those roughly. You just want to make sure you're not going to be cutting anywhere near those when you come up with your design. So there you go, you've got your template there. Now you can make some copies of that if you like and play around with a few different designs. You don't really want to play with this area here because that looks pretty good at the moment, and you don't want to really take off any wood up here if you can avoid it. So we're going to leave that part of the guitar alone and come out here and probably come with a kind of circular pattern. It doesn't matter how rough it is to the start because you can work this out as you go. So we want a bit of a curve around here, curving around, just sketching it out, just making sure it meets and looks cool. You can come right up to the edge there, so that's a nice sort of curve at the end there. That looks pretty sweet. Probably come around a bit shallower here, just sketching it out, playing around with a few different ideas, and there you go. That's quite a nice sort of standard design. It's a bit Fenderish if you like, but not exactly their shape, and it's an original design, and I think I'm quite happy with it. Don't worry too much about this side because that's not really going to change. You can cut straight down there. So you want to follow the line of the guitar headstock here, very carefully, cutting right on the line. And as I said, the scissors make it easy to get that curve. You can just turn it around as you cut and get a nice even curve there. Come back in, right up to the edge. And around to the finish. So there you go. That's your template there, and you can use that by putting it onto the headstock and then drawing it around again. We'll do that now. Okay, we've got our template now, and we're going to line it up here with the headstock. So we haven't actually cut this bit. This is the original headstock design. So we'll line that up there and use this long straight edge here to make sure it's in line. What we need to do is just grab a pencil, and we just need to draw on the outline that we'll be cutting. So nice and easily around here, again keeping it nice and curved, nice and curved. So you're not really cutting much there. Coming back in. It doesn't matter if your line's a bit wonky, because what we're going to do is once we cut this, we're going to be sanding it back to a nice smooth round shape. So just follow it round, making sure you get a nice clear outline, and there you go. So we've clearly got our lines on there, so we're going to be cutting down here first, leaving that straight. We'll actually sand that around at the end. Cutting around here, taking off that little corner there, then coming back inside around here. So we can just draw that in. Down here and around to the original position. Too easy. Okay, now for this next step, we need to secure the neck of the guitar so that we can actually cut out the headstock. Phil's brought along his Black & Decker Workmate. We don't expect everyone to have one of these, but these are ideal. So perhaps if you're just working from home, you can check out, maybe your school's got one of these, or maybe you've got a friend or a friend of a friend. Just find someone who's got a workbench that you can use, or use something at home that will keep the guitar neck nice and still, because you don't want it moving around. And we're going to use a jigsaw to cut this out. Obviously not everyone has got a jigsaw, so you don't want to go out and buy one of those. By the time you buy all those tools, you might as well go and buy a $3,000 guitar. So again, maybe ask at your school or work, or friends of friends, fathers of friends. Sure, someone will have a jigsaw, or even a coping saw, which is like a hand saw that you can use to cut around the outline here. We're not really cutting off much wood, so it's not a lot of work. And it's really only about a 5-minute job for someone who knows what they're doing. Sorry.
Need to make sure that it's firm, it's not going to move, because this is going to vibrate a lot once we start jigsawing. We put in a couple of pieces of cardboard to protect the neck, and we've used the packing from around the neck at this end. Nice and firm,
but not over tight. That's very important. We don't want to actually put much stress on this very soft wood of the fretboard here, or even affect the frets. So nice and tight, but not overly tight. Just make sure it doesn't move. And as I say, if you haven't got a workbench, just work something out at home, maybe with a couple of friends, just to keep that guitar neck still while you cut around it with a jigsaw or with a coping hacksaw. I think we're ready to cut, Phil. We're ready now to cut our headstock using a jigsaw. We can't actually show you how to do that because using a jigsaw is very dangerous. We don't want to encourage you to try that on your own without help. So we'd encourage you to find someone who knows how to use a jigsaw if you want to go down that route, and let them help you out and in the safe use of that tool. If you haven't got a jigsaw, you probably might be able to find one of these, which, as I said before, is a coping saw. And a coping saw, like a hacksaw, you use by hand, and you just place down around the headstock and cut around the line. And that's probably just as good, just as effective as the jigsaw, and perhaps even more accurate, because you're taking your time doing that. And it's obviously a lot safer than using a power tool. So we'll go ahead and cut our headstock, and we'll come back and show you how to sand it off. So with our neck still securely in the workbench, in the workmate, nice tight with the cardboard there, we just need to grab some sandpaper, starting with what, the 600, Phil?
I'm actually starting with the 240, Adam.
Okay, sorry, yes, the 240, which is the coarsest sandpaper, but we're going to start sanding around to that line.
I'm using a sanding block. Keep the sanding block firm, don't wobble, and just follow the curve that you want to keep. This is going to get the machine marks out, any burn marks from the jigsaw blade. Concentrate on one bit at a time.
And Phil, I notice you've got that nice and straight. Obviously that's to keep the nice flat line of the guitar headstock. And here you have it. This is the final result. We've cut out the headstock, and we've sanded it down. I've got to be honest, we actually used an electric sander around here. You can use sandpaper by hand, but obviously that's going to take quite a while. So again, if you've got access to an electric sander, that'll really shorten the job. It's beautiful and smooth around here, nice curvature. You can see the shape. It's yeah, it's a bit like a fender shape, but it's not exactly the same, and it's a little bit original. But as we said, you can come up with any design you like and be creative. Just remember that you don't want to touch this area up here where the machine heads go, and be careful to leave plenty of space around here so you're not affecting the integrity of the headstock at all. So we're pretty happy with that. I think the next step now is to show you just how to sand back the neck before we treat that with any painting.